We are live again. Welcome everyone and thank you so much for being with me on this journey. I am excited about our second session of our Design Tomorrow talks. And our very first special guest today is Pete Moore. Pete helps entrepreneurs transform their frustrations into freedom by using a variety of frameworks that help them cut through the chaos and overwhelm of running a business. With over 25 years as a business owner, he's refined many of his tips, tools, and techniques in the trenches within his own businesses. Pete started coaching others in business because of his belief that you own your business, it shouldn't own you. It's time to start using frameworks that allow you to have a business that enables you to live the life you deserve. Today, he will talk to us about overlaying the 5 Ps to reduce frustration and increase freedom. Welcome, Pete. Thank you so much for being today with me.
Thanks so much for having me, Diana. I'm looking forward to it.
The floor is yours.
All right. Well, great. So thanks everybody for joining us. And, when Diana approached me about doing this, it's really an interesting thing around, I'm writing this book and, a lot of the entrepreneurs and business owners that I work with really are feeling frustrated, especially after all the things that have happened over the last couple of years. Things have changed and your business has changed, your life has changed, your clients have changed, your team has changed. There's been so much change. And along with change often comes frustration. And how have you adapted those frustrations in order to create some freedoms again? Maybe you didn't have them before, but you probably did. And, remember when you started your business, whether that was 2 months ago, 3 years ago, or 10 years ago, you had this dream in your head. You were thinking, you know what, when I start a business, I'm going to have a better life. Everybody starts a business to have a better life. And you're thinking about all the things that it could provide you. And those are what I call the freedoms of entrepreneurship. So the mired down, the frustration, the overwork, the overwhelm, all of those kind of things that we feel, the weight on our shoulders that we feel as business owners, sometimes the frustrations, and then the freedoms. It's like, I could have more time. I could have more money. I could have better relationships. I could take a trip. I could do, spend more time with my family, my friends, all this other stuff. That's why we got into business. I have a mission, a personal mission, and I'm going to use my business to deliver that. So a lot of times when we get down, these 1, 2, 5, 10 years down the road, we kind of look back and we're like, all I've seemed to have done is work 50, 60, 70, 80 hours a week. I don't seem to be living those freedoms. I don't know why. And now I'm getting mad at my business because it's not providing them. It's an interesting thing. And, when I got to thinking of all of this stuff, and I've been a business owner all of my life, and, I've usually run 2 businesses or 3 businesses at the same time all along. So from that perspective, in order to do that, I've had to have a certain amount of freedom all along in order to enable me to start new things and to grow new businesses. And so I came up with this idea around the 5 Ps, and the 5 Ps we can overlay on top of anyone's business. It's universal. Doesn't matter if you're a doctor, a retailer, whether you have a practice or whether you have a business or wholesaling business, it can be overlaid. And the idea really here is that it all starts with your promise. So I'm going to outline the 5 Ps right off the bat. So the first one is the promise, that we just mentioned. And then we have the product, the process, the people, and the profit. So it all starts again with the promise and having that promise laid out. And this is one of the things that I've really been finding interesting over the last year or so, is that a lot of clients and a lot of people, a lot of business owners haven't actually gone back to revisit the promise because of all the changes that have happened. They're doing things the way they've been doing them forever because they've always done it that way. Well, if you've always done it that way, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the right way to continue on. And from that perspective, it's like, okay, let's reel it back a little bit. Understand what the promise is, the current promise. And I'm not saying it's going to change a whole bunch. For some companies, it has, but it might just need a little bit of tweaking. And how do you develop your promise? Maybe you don't even have a promise. It's your why. You've heard a lot of other people talk about it, but here's a simple tool for anybody listening that would be able to develop a promise fairly quickly. What's your client's problem? How do you uniquely address it through 1, 2, 3 steps, so that, and this is the most important part, so that they can build and have a better life? Because everybody buys a better life. Just as you, as the entrepreneur, when you started your business, you're thinking in the future and you're thinking about a better life. What's it going to be like? Well, you need to do that for your clients too. And you need to know the path from what their problem is. And sometimes their problems have changed. And that's the thing that's really interesting here. Their problems have changed. They're not necessarily the same as they were a couple of years ago. So now we have to address their current problems, take them through a process. And this is some things often that need tweaking as well, so that we can give them what their end result is, which is the transformation to be a better person. And that's when they're going to actually hand out the money to you, because they can see that transition. So when you have that promise built out in that way, now you can market to it. You can build all of your other things around it. You can build your messaging. You can hire to it. You can fire to it. All of these different things align. So the next piece is really, we need to go back and we need to align your product, your process, and your people to it, now that we have it really honed down well. So what do? Well, we look at our product or service base, right? Service starts with an S, so I use the word product, but I'm a retailer and we sell products. If you're a veterinarian, you're selling services for the most part. Doesn't really matter, but are your products aligned to the promise? Now that you've reassess, and sometimes your promise is still the same, and that's okay, right? And so I'm not saying everybody needs to change their promise, but you might need to tweak it a little bit. Now we go back and look at the product mix. Does it actually align with taking that customer through the transformation? Because here's what I often hear: we've always done that. It's something we've always done. We can't get rid of that. Well, the biggest thing here is that you can't just keep adding and adding and adding and adding products all along your journey as an entrepreneur. Sometimes those products no longer either suit what you're doing or the profitability of your business, or they no longer suit that transformation because it's changed. And just because you've always done something doesn't mean that you should continue on with that particular product. I had a great conversation the other day with one of my clients who said, what, I built this program and I'm attached to it because I built it. It's me, and I put all this time into it and all this other stuff. And you know what? We did sell 2 of them last year. And I'm like, well, how much of that is your actual, percentage of gross volume? And she said probably about 1%. And I'm like, so is that of any value when you have all these products? It's not aligning. Just because you had it there and it was a big piece of your system a long time ago doesn't mean that it currently is. So I give you permission to actually let go of some of those products if they don't align with the promise anymore, and if they don't align with your profitability. I mean, such an important piece. I mean, we're not just doing and being in business just to do and be in business. We need to make our profit so that we can enjoy some of the freedoms that we want as an entrepreneur. So the next step is the process. When we look at the process, how many processes are there in the business? And this is the overwhelming one for most entrepreneurs. I mean, it's overwhelming. It's like, oh my gosh, I've got, I have processes for hiring and firing and marketing and sales and accounts receivable and accounts payable and finance and all these different things. And how do I clean the facility? And how do I do like all these different, there's no way I could ever have a process manual for all these different things. My philosophy is there's no way you can't have it, because without process in your business, without things running on rails, without things aligning perfectly and properly, you're never going to be able to assign accountability. And without assigning accountability, Those people are going to come to you for the answer of every single little thing that needs to be done. And how much frustration is that? Oh my gosh. Like, if you're feeling that everybody's coming to you for everything, it's because you don't have the right process. So where do you start with that? Well, you start with the low hanging fruit. I mean, basically, so many people don't start with things because it just seems overwhelming, right? If you think of it, for those of you who are watching, if the rung on a ladder is this big, it may be too far to reach. But if it's only this big, you can reach it and you can hit 5 of those rungs in amongst that one. And just those little bits along the way, think about how much you can actually get done in a week, a month, a quarter, and a year. And 2-3 years from now, this thing is running on rails. And yeah, does it take time? Yes, it does. But if you don't start now with aligning the processes of your business so that you can release them and enjoy the freedom that comes with releasing those, and knowing that they're actually going to be done properly by the people you've signed accountability to, and that the business is going to continue on happily without your involvement in every minor decision. When we look at that kind of stuff, it's really around the idea of assigning accountability at the lowest level possible within your business, so that those decisions are made without you even knowing. It's just automated. It just happens. Those things just happen all the time. Bathroom gets cleaned, the stuff gets ordered, the sales get made, the posts go out, and it just works like clockwork. And from that perspective, where do you start? Well, you start with the easiest one, or you start with the one that's causing you the most frustration today. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It will be uniquely yours. But ultimately, I have another great concept with simplifying entrepreneurship, and it's called love it or leave it. As an entrepreneur perspective, you want to be working every day in your love it zone, the stuff that gives you energy, the stuff that doesn't feel like work, the stuff that really gives you power and excitement and passion for your business, and leave the rest to others. Because a lot of times what you don't like, somebody else loves. I'll use accounting, for example. I have several business degrees and I can do accounting fairly well. I don't like doing it. I actually have somebody who loves it. She loves to balance the books. She loves to finish things properly. She's very detailed and very oriented, very different from me. I can do it, but I don't love doing it. So I don't spend any of my time doing that. And you, as the entrepreneur, shouldn't be spending time doing the things, even if you're good at it, that you don't love doing, because there's somebody else out there that loves doing that and can take it and do even a better job than you. So think about those processes, because once you have those aligned and assigned, then you can move incredible mountains without your involvement. It's so interesting. The next of the 5 P's is the people. And here's one of the ones that, the process seems sort of the most overbearing and the biggest but the people often is the one that causes the most frustration. And, I break down people into 3. First, your ideal client. And I'm sure, most people have done the avatars and all this other stuff around building your ideal client. Who's your best client? Who's your worst client? All that kind of stuff. So I won't dig into that too much today, but I want you to think about doing the very same for your ideal teammate. And who's the best team member you've ever had on your team? Who's the worst team member you've ever had on your team? Think about it. You know their name. Pull it up. Do a vertical line down the sheet. On the right, write down, or on the left, write down all of the things that you really didn't like about that person that didn't work out for you. On the right, all the best things. And when you set up your process for hiring your next individual, going back to process, now you have all of the ammunition you need in order to prepare and present for your next interview, to market that. This is the kind of person we're looking for. This is the kind of person we aren't. It's okay to attract. We want to attract the right person, but we also want to repel the wrong one. And it's just as good to repel the wrong one as it is to attract the right one, because by repelling the wrong ones, whether this is a customer or a team member, you're going to save yourself how much time, how much frustration, how much energy, how much of that gets sucked out of your body when you're dealing with someone that you don't want to be dealing with. So when we look at that, there's the third one on the people, and I love this one too. It's all of your outsourced partners. Maybe it's a marketing company, maybe it's your wholesalers, maybe it's, your outside accounting firm, or whatever the case is. But all of the different people that are part of your business that help you deliver your promise. So you can see how everything's tying back to the promise. It all has to tie back to the promise. That's why that's the foundational piece of understanding, so that all of these three things, the product, the process, and the people, tie back to the promise. And when we have that, then we can start enjoying some profit. And because things are running on rails, because everything is streamlined, because your team knows what they're doing, your clients know what you're doing, your promise is being delivered in a succinct way that everybody knows the transformation. Here's where I was, there's where I want to be, and I'm actually being delivered that. People are going to be more loyal to you, both your clients and your team. So it's, the great, I can't think of the name right now, but basically it's the great evacuation of businesses, and everybody's leaving for whatever reason. I can't remember the term, but anyway, it's this idea that everybody's leaving their business. Well, why are they leaving their business? Because they aren't aligned to the promise anymore of that business. But that doesn't mean that we can't bring those same people onto our business if our promise aligns better, and they're great people. And the people that are aligned with our promise are going to stay. They're loyal. They want to take customers through that transformation. They have bought in. How important is this as a leader to know your 4 Ps in order to get that fifth one, the profit? It's crucial. We need to communicate that. We need to give confidence and clarity around it, because that's the only way we're going to develop our freedom as an entrepreneur. And, when I look at the freedoms and what can the profit bring you, I just enjoyed a wonderful month away. Just in the month, we're recording here early April, and the month of March, I took the month of March off because I designed that to happen. We have 2 retail stores. I have my coaching business. I did do a little bit of coaching when I was away, just to be honest. Had a couple of meetings that I wanted to make sure I got in with my clients virtually, but outside of that, that's basically all I did. And that was a freedom I wanted. And I designed it into my business. I designed my business to give that to me. And if you're feeling as though your business owns you and you don't own your business, then you need to look at this sort of stuff, and you need to start setting up these things. That's what we do at Simplifying Entrepreneurship, is help entrepreneurs through this process so that they can get delivered the freedoms that are uniquely yours through their business. That's why we got in business. We started off by talking about, hey, remember those freedoms? It's like, if they aren't delivering the freedoms, then we need to set up the business to deliver it. And the freedoms, doesn't matter. I wanted a month off. Well, you might want other freedoms, and that's perfectly good, but understanding what those freedoms are around your health, your wealth, your relationships, your purpose, all of those different things around what you want. Because as entrepreneurs, our business is tied together. It's coupled often with our business. But if it's weighted more on the business side instead of your side as the owner, that's wrong. That's an imbalance. It should be weighted more on your side so that you have your business delivering what you want. And that's, I think, the biggest frustration that a lot of entrepreneurs find themselves 1, 3, 5, 10 years later. They look back and they're, I'm still not getting what I thought I was going to get. There are ways to do that. And you just have to start today. Use these P's and, get a framework around what it is you need to do in order to deliver that back to you. So one of the easiest ways to do that sort of thing is to start off by knowing what your benchmark is now. And I suggest hopping on over to my website at more.coach. That's mohr.coach. And I have a assessment there, and you can click on the assessment right at the top right hand corner. And when you fill that out for about 10 minutes, it takes about 10 minutes, about 50 multiple choice questions, you'll get back between a 50 to 60 page PDF that green lights and red lights the areas of your business, your leadership, all of the things around your business operations, marketing, all that sort of stuff, and the things that you need to work on. And whether you use me as your coach to help, or whether you find somebody else, or whether you read lots of books like her behind me and get the information, it's just going to give you these ideas of the things that you need to work on so that you can enjoy more freedom from your business, and you're not going to feel overworked, overwhelmed, and you're not going to feel as though your business owns you instead of you owning your business. Back to you, Diane.
Thank you so much, Pete. I love this. And I can fully relate to everything you are saying. And thank you so much for your wisdom and knowledge sharing with us. I would like to ask you something that I know we have many business owners on our platform who are at the beginning of their journey. And you mentioned the processes, you mentioned the people. Do you think these processes should also be put in place at the very beginning, when maybe we don't have necessarily a team, we cannot delegate to other people? How do we do it, and do we have to do it actually?
Yes. Yes, you do. Because if you leave it until later on, I talked a little bit about this idea of procrastinating because it's way too big. There's too much. I love a tool called Loom. Loom is a video-based tool. So, you just go online and you can do a little video with your screenshot and all this sort of stuff. And you can literally just talk yourself through any of these processes, so that if you're starting out and doing all this stuff yourself, just video yourself working on the computer, or video yourself doing whatever it is you're doing, so that you have a copy of it. Because somewhere down the road, you're going to release it to someone else and assign accountability. So when that happens, here's a major block, especially for new people in business. When they start assigning accountability, they basically go like this. They say, okay, I've been doing all the marketing for years. I've hired a marketing person. Go to it. And then they expect that there's going to be, sales coming in and marketing's going to kill it and all this other stuff. But they've released authority and assigned authority, but not given any process. That person doesn't know their promise. That person doesn't understand their products. That person, I just expect because I hire a marketing manager that this person's going to come in and manage my marketing. Well, there's a lot of process there. And people need to have the time and the focus and the information in order to do their job properly. And this happens to a lot of small business entrepreneurs, where they just hire somebody and they just kind of say, take it because I'm fed up with it, right? That's that love it or leave it zone that we talked about. It's like, I am done with marketing, or I am done with bookkeeping, as I said. And it's just like, you know what? You're a bookkeeper, figure it out. And well, it doesn't really work that way, because every business has unique things that happen within it and unique processes that happen within it. And the earlier you start in setting up those processes and setting them out in a format that can be easily transferred to the next person, because that's what you're always thinking about here. You're always thinking about, I may not like doing this now, because let's face it, in the first 1 to 3 years, the business owner is going to be overworked, is going to be overwhelmed, is going to be making every major decision, or most, and that's very, very, very common. And, that's startup. But what I'm talking about here is, and depending on the startup and the cash flow and all this other stuff within the business, depends on how quickly you ramp up. But what I'm talking about here is when you get to that point where you have some people and you have some of these other things, and you're still doing all that, that's wrong. Because if all of the stuff is here, and I'm pointing for those of you who are listening and not watching, I'm pointing to my head. If all of the stuff is here in your brain and not taken out of your brain and into a manual or a video or something like that, how can you ever assign accountability? And until you assign accountability, how can you ever be free?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Pete. Thank you for sharing all of this with us. I am sure that we will have more questions in the future, and people can contact you.
Oh,
You
for sure.
gave us your website, and I am sure that people will take advantage of that assessment, including myself,
Yeah,
to check
great.
out what we need to do more in our businesses. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Diana. And if anybody wants to reach me, I'm on LinkedIn at Pete Moore and on Instagram at Pete Moore_coach. Those are probably the best ways to catch me.
That's very helpful. Thank you so much, Pete.
Thank you.